What's going on, Big Blue Nation? Will Turpin here, UK superfan. Hope everybody's doing well out there today. It's kind of a tough loss there Tuesday night. But on today's video, we're going to move on to the next one. Kentucky's going to travel down and take on the Auburn Tigers. This game is going to be on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock. This game will be able to be seen on ESPN. I've got a lot to say about Kentucky, after we break down Auburn. You're going to want to stick around. I'm going to give my candid insight on this team and kind of where we're at and where we need to go. And you're going to want to stick around. I got quite a bit to say about this Kentucky basketball team. But let's talk about Auburn first. They're 7-6 overall. 1-4 in the SEC, but you can really toss that record out the window because Auburn's a new team now. They started the season with one of the best playmaking guards in the nation not eligible, and he's been cleared. Sharife Cooper, a name that you're going to obviously want to keep top of mind as you're watching the game. He was cleared 2 games ago. And so really in my preparation for this video, I really just kind of wanted to focus on where Auburn is now and not where they were, 3 weeks ago or where they were a month ago. In the 2 games since Sharife Cooper's come back, they're 1-1, but there's a lot of interesting things to take into consideration. They battled Alabama pretty much right down to the wire in Cooper's first game on the floor, and they lost in a shootout, 94-90. They followed that up with they scored 95 points again Tuesday night as they went down and just absolutely went down to Athens and just smoked Georgia 95-77. So now Auburn, you look at it, in the last 2 games since they instituted Sharife Cooper into the lineup, they've scored 90 points and 95 points since he was cleared to play. So, right there. Right there he is at the top. He's the playmaker, Sharife Cooper. He's a 6'1", 180-pound freshman guard, the highest-rated player to ever sign with Alabama in the history of their program. In his 2 games since he's been eligible to play, he's been the real deal. 27 points a game, 10.5 assists a game, chips in with 4.5 rebounds and 2.5 steals. And Cooper, man, I tell you, when you look at the tape, he has just excelled in breaking the defense down off the dribble and either finishing at the rim or getting fouled or setting up a teammate with a good shot, as indicated with his 27-point-a-game average, but also those lofty 10.5 assists per game. I mean, that's pretty insane. He has an effect on the game in many ways. Like I said, he gets to the foul line a ton. I mean, he's already gotten to the foul line 22 times in his 2 games and knocked down 19 of them. You're probably wondering, why am I spending so much time on Sharife Cooper? I mean, he's the guy that's going to have the ball in his hands and making plays for Auburn all afternoon Saturday. The only area that he's really not shined is from the 3-point line. Where he's only been 1 out of 11 through his 2 games. And, after we talk about the Auburn players, I'll kind of give you my take on how I think we need to deal with Cooper defensively and really this Auburn squad. Maybe a possibility. But next up, you got 6'6", 215-pound guard, sophomore Alan Flanagan there. He was their leading scorer until, Sharife Cooper came back. And he's been really efficient. He makes about 50% of his shots from the field. 39% from 3, shooting 74% from the line. And Auburn, they just like to play fast. You're going to hear the theme in this video. They like to play fast. They like to spread you out. Sound familiar? It's kind of like what we played, against Alabama Tuesday night. Flanagan's a big part of, what they do in other aspects too. He also drags down about 5 rebounds a game. And that's something that the Auburn guards, even though they play smaller, all their guards are really good rebounders, so it helps them make up, any deficiency they may have on the backboard with their guards rebounding the ball so well. Next up there, you got 6'4", 195-pound junior guard Jamal Johnson. He's kind of moved into the starting lineup here the last 3 games when freshman Justin Powell had to miss a few games. We'll talk a little bit more about the Kentucky boy Powell here in just a few. But Johnson, he's a floor spacer. He's not going to hesitate to shoot 3. When Auburn's, they love to throw long outlet passes to him for pull-up threes on the fast break. Auburn's going to get up a lot of shots. That's just the way they play. Next up, 6'8", 230-pound sophomore forward Jalen Williams. He's a versatile player. He too can stretch the floor. I don't think Alabama hardly plays anybody that can't shoot the 3. And like I said, he's also a willing three-point shooter. Plays about 25 minutes a game, averages 11 points, 4 boards. He's a great athlete, can finish at the rim, in traffic. And he flashed his athleticism Tuesday night against Georgia. I was looking at the tape, and it seemed like, I looked at the stats afterwards, and he had like 5 blocked shots, but it seemed like more than that. When you was watching the game, it was just like every time you turned around, he was making an impact around the rim on the defensive end. So, Auburn's got a lot of good athletes. There's not any shortage at all of athletes on this team. JT Thor, he kind of rounds out the starting lineup there. He's a 6'10", 205-pound freshman forward. He's still developing in Bruce Pearl's team. He's active in the passing lane. He gets his hands on a lot of loose balls. If you make, errant passes, he's just gritty. Can get you tough rebounds. And, as of late, he's been blocking shots on a regular basis. He only plays about 20 minutes a game. And most of that's just really due to, what Bruce Pearl wants to do stylistically. He wants to play small. He wants to play with 4 guards on the floor, and he wants to run you to death. The first guy, I want to talk about off the bench there, though, is a young man from North Oldham High School right here in Kentucky. 6'6" freshman guard, Justin Powell. Now, Powell has missed the last 3 games after colliding with a player in the Texas A&M game. But he did return to practice this past Monday. He did sit out the game Tuesday against Georgia, but he's been practicing all week, and I'm sure he's chomping at the bits to get on the floor against his home state team. And, Powell's been really, really solid for the Tigers. Before he went down with the injury and before Sharif Collins, came back into the fold, we saw, really Collins sort of just before Sharif Cooper come back, he sort of manned the point guard for him. So, he's the kind of guy that, he's got ball handling skills. But really the main thing I think with Powell is, he's leading the team in three-point shooting. He's knocking them down at a 44% clip. So, but he also gets rebounds. He's averaging 6.1 rebounds. He was actually the leading rebounder on the team until he missed the 3 games. But, 4.7 assists a game, so he can make plays. And he's a good bet to have an impact on this game if he plays. Like I said, just as of right now, we have no indication whether he will be back or not. But, like I said, that'll be something to keep an eye on. And obviously, if he has a big game, that's going to get a lot of the chatter going about, here we let a local kid get away, so to speak. But there's so much chatter going on all the time as far as with in-state guys when they do get out. So, like I said, we'll just have to keep an eye on that. But I don't know if Powell will play or not. But I'm sure a lot of people are interested to see how he does against his Cats. Devin Cambridge, he's a 6'6", 215-pound sophomore guard. He's playing about 23 minutes a game. He started out, the year starting and just struggled. He struggled shooting the ball. He's been plagued by turnovers and clumsy ball handling. But despite those struggles, Coach Bruce Pearl, he hangs with Cambridge. Continues to give him minutes. He's still playing, over 20 minutes a game usually, and Pearl's just, got the hope that Cambridge can eventually get himself out of that slump. Let's hope he doesn't get out of that slump Saturday afternoon when we come to town. Last guy there is a 6'11", 250-pound bruiser, Dylan Cardwell. He's a true center, more of a I would say a developmental piece for Bruce Pearl. But he has extended his minutes a few times. He's a big, strong, physical guy. He's 6'11", 250. As I say, that's a grown man. And we're probably going to be facing this big guy, for the next several years to come. But right now, he typically doesn't play but about 10 minutes a game because of the way the style that Auburn plays. But they have extended his minutes out past that, and he has had some success. So, like I said, he is a load to contend with around the rim. Big-time rebounder and shot blocker both. There's a lot of similarities in the way Auburn likes to attack, sort of, the way our last opponent, Alabama. They want to play, like I said, really, really fast. And they're loaded with athletic guards. Sharif Cooper, he's a lottery pick. Just plain and simple. In Kentucky's last game versus Alabama, we saw really Kentucky's biggest weaknesses were exposed. The two biggest weaknesses we have, I think. On defense, we just can't keep guards from penetrating into the lane. And, this is causing, a lot of issues. We're giving up a ton of layups for one, and then, which is frustrating to watch. As a fan, it's just, it's so frustrating to watch somebody just drive right in and get an uncontested layup. And, man, they did that so many times. Bama did Tuesday night against us. And then it seemed like when we could collapse over and the penetration was getting so deep that, they were just kicking it out to willing shooters. And, they had an excellent shooting night, Bama did. I think they knocked down like 14 threes against us. So, but it was all set up by our inability for our guards to keep their guards, in front of them. And, the other big weakness that was exposed Tuesday night against Bama is the fact that we don't have a guard that's quick enough to break anybody down off the dribble. With the exception, I think, of Terrence Clark, and he's not even played the last 2 weeks due to injury. And by not really being able to get downhill, on the defense regularly, defenders are just staying at home on our outside shooters, and this is why the offense looks so bad. Stylistically, Cal's offense needs guards that can be alphas on the floor, and due to the struggles and missed games of Clark and really Brandon Boston's inability to provide any consistent driving of the basketball either, we're seeing an offense that just don't have the pieces to run what Cal wants to run. Devin Askew and Davion Mintz, they're nice players to have. Davion, he provides us with great leadership, and he's solid as can be. And Devin's a guy that, I think is going to develop into being a really good player over the next few years. But for this Kentucky team to hit its ceiling, we're going to need to stay on the path that we were on with Terrence Clark before his injury. And I hate to say it, but we need him back on the floor so bad. For good or bad, we've got to have Terrence Clark back. There's zero chance that this team reaches its ceiling without Clark, in my opinion. And I know he struggled. I know he did. But he's the one guy on this team that has a lightning first step. Sure, he still needs to develop, and, but, missing these last few games, it may end up proving to be the downfall for this team. I know, like I said, I know he struggled. I know he struggled a lot beforehand. But like I said, he's the one guy that you can give him the basketball, and he has got a good enough first step that, he can force the defense to react. He can get into that lane. He can penetrate downhill. And, that gives you rim runners on the baseline. That opens up room for guys like Dante Allen. Dante's a great shooter. And for this team to really be as good as they need to be, he probably needs to be shooting 10 or 12 threes a game. And really the reason he's not is because of the defense is staying at home on him. And why not? Because it's not like we have any other major offensive threats on the floor, and we can't force the defense to react enough. And getting Terrence Clark back on the floor quick, that's going to be the that's going to be really the big key that nobody's talking about. Everybody wants to look at what our problems are and what our deficiencies are, but how can we fix them? And I can tell you, I've looked at so much tape on this team all year long, and the only time that we really ever had any real good semblance of offense was back when that one game where Terrence looked really good and was driving the ball, but he was still a long ways to go. He wasn't seeing the court correctly, but he was getting into the teeth of the defense, and it was forcing the defense to at least react. Since then, we did see one game where we had quite a bit of assist there against Florida, and really that was just really based on the way Florida played us, and they packed it in and didn't do a very good job of getting out on our shooters to contest, so that made a big difference in the second half. We had good ball movement against them, but really, the three other guards, Mintz, Boston, and Allen, those minutes, they just need to go to the two that are playing the best. Lance Ware, he plays defense, he rebounds, he hustles. He hustles his tail off, and he deserves to have a role on this team. Again, Cal's offense won't work without at least one alpha guard. Terrence Clark is the only guy that has the skills on this team to be an alpha guard. That's just breaking it down as real as I can break it down right there. And, I'm not saying Terrence Clark can save our season, but I am saying that he's the only guy on this team with an elite first step. And, I truly hope that the coaching staff at least understands that fact. This offense won't work, not the way we need it to work. Sure, there's going to be some teams that we match up well with better than others, and we're going to win some games. But ultimately, for this team to even make the tournament, we got a lot of work to do. So how do you guard Auburn? How are you going to guard them? Sharif Cooper, like I said, he's driving into the lane at will. And that's our Achilles heel. Do we go zone for 40 minutes? Honestly, I don't know. But I do know we have a ton of games left to play. And we can play our way back into this season. We can. But we got to start avoiding some losses. And really the fact of the matter is we can mathematically eliminate ourselves here with just a few more losses. That's the thing. Another 4 losses and we're getting close to being mathematically eliminated. So, another game, here we go. And if with Clark, if he's setting out, that's just another game where we can't see what a smaller lineup looks like. I'd like to see a Clark, Mintz, Dante Allen, Keon Brooks on the floor with, say, either Sarr or Jackson, one of the bigs. I'd like to see us spread the floor out and play fast. We certainly don't have anything to lose. I'd love to see Clark return for this game on Saturday. But I still love Askew's effort. I love his grit. I love Askew as a player. He's one of my favorites on the team. But I want to finish this by saying this. We could get lucky Saturday. And this is what I mean by that. Alabama beat the brakes off of us by running and gunning Tuesday night. We could get lucky in the sense that Auburn is going to probably try to do the same thing. They're going to drive downhill. They're going to play fast. They're going to get up a lot of shots. And, if you were paying attention at the end of that game against Alabama, for like the last few minutes, we did play small. Now, it was way too late. Most people weren't paying attention. But we were starting to have some success with that small lineup on the floor. Like I said, it was way too late, and that game was over. But if we were paying attention, if our coaching staff was paying attention to those last few minutes, like I said, we could just get lucky in the fact that, Auburn's going to run and gun. So, if we're going to keep up and play the same style, we might accidentally figure out that that's the way this team needs to play the rest of the season. On pure accident, just by trying to keep up with Auburn. And, I just hope that we don't wait until we're down 15, and we come out trying to play, that bully ball early and start just pounding it into the paint. Here we are. We're at that point of the show. It's the bottom line time. We're on the brink of being eliminated from any chance to play our way back into the NCAA tourney. We must play Saturday with a sense of urgency. We must fight, scratch, and claw, and come out of Auburn with a win and keep hope alive. Big Blue Nation, I'm going to be cheering as hard as I possibly can on Saturday afternoon. Think good thoughts. Send good vibes. These young men have been through a lot the last several months, and especially the last several weeks. I'm going to take a line from Coach Cal. I love this team. Go Big Blue, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks, everyone.